Alright, today in sexual abuse allegations, we have the tale of Al Franken, and we also have Sylvester Stallone. Now, I haven't checked for any new ones today, but I can always do a one tomorrow, because I'm sure there'll be 2 or 3 more people to add to the list. At this point, it's getting a little bit difficult to sift through it all because of the sheer number of complaints against the sheer number of people. I would point out something. There are a huge number right now of DNC shills, Democratic bots and operatives, Clintonian, weirdos on Twitter and elsewhere trying to shield Al Franken from having to resign or get expelled for sex abuse. I would like to point out something, though. Their tactic right now, yesterday their tactic was spreading actually a fake report, which was, the photographer said it was just a joke, and this model here is part of a skit. And they tried to make it sound like Al Franken's statement came from somebody else. That was their original tactic. Now, they got blown out of the water on that one. It didn't work. All it did was make the Al Franken thing trend more. They thought better of it. So now their idea is to hijack the Al Franken must go trend that's going on at the moment, as we speak, like right now, like on Twitter and elsewhere. They're trying to hijack it to ramble about Trump, and they're like, 17 women accused Trump of raping and groping them, and Al Franken, it's only one person. So they're trying to shift the argument because they know there's no way to directly defend Al Franken. There's one problem with what they're saying, though. There is no photographic proof or video evidence of Donald Trump raping or groping anybody. We have a Billy Bush tape where he's talking about consensual acts, maybe degenerated ones, immoral ones, but certainly not criminal, certainly not rape and sexual assault. He's talking about, hey, when you're rich, people will let you do sexual stuff with them in return for, goods and services, essentially. It's sad but true. It's basically a Hugh Hefner comment. I didn't see any of you rambling about him when he kicked the bucket. There's a difference. We have a photograph of Al Franken groping this individual. She says it was not consensual. She also says, well, yeah, I accept his apology, but, he groped me. It was sexual assault. They're trying to make it sound as though she's, forgiven him, and, but please back off poor Al. And that's nonsense. And I remember very briefly they were trying to post pictures of her when she was modeling. I guess the idea was to insinuate that, well, she sort of asked for it because she poses in lingerie or something. A very strange tactic considering that Al Franken was one of the originators of the believe the victim mentality we've got right now. Now, I would put it this way. If somebody has 20, 30 people alleging sexual assault, that may, be something you want to look into more than if it's just one person. But when you've got a photograph, you've got actual evidence of it, and the other person saying, no, this wasn't part of a skit. It was not consensual. I was asleep at the time. Yeah, that's a little bit different. And the threshold of evidence it does still exist, despite the fact that such claims have an emotional response that most claims don't. Like if you randomly alleged, hey, so-and-so stole my car 10 years ago, somebody might say, well, that's pretty funny, but it wouldn't evoke an emotional response on the same level as, hey, he raped me 10 years ago. There's a little bit of a difference. Nonetheless, people should be considered, at least legally speaking, innocent until proven guilty. It's like the Roy Moore stuff. Prove your claims before asking him to step down. If the allegations are true, yeah, not only should he step down, he should be in prison. Now you've got them backtracking on half the claims they're making, to the point at which, what's the name, Aldred there can't even remember whether he signed the yearbook, whether that's even true. What are you talking about? Well, it doesn't make any sense. The whole story is, fucked. With the Al Franken story, though, we've got an actual photograph. So unless Leeann herself, Leeann Tweeden, comes out and says, yeah, in retrospect, that was part of a skit. It was perfectly okay. Nothing wrong ever happened. No, I wasn't actually asleep. It was just an inside joke at the time. Unless she comes out and says that, hey, I'm sorry, but I'm going to believe her because I've actually got a fucking photo to look at. A little bit different. I think that if indeed she holds to that part of the story, and the photograph is indeed evidence, I would think, if that is indeed true, he should resign, or he should be expelled by the Senate. That's totally different than somebody making an allegation. An allegation is, hey, I've got no evidence, I'm just telling you something that happened. The real victim could be the other person. You could be trying to defame them. When you get a picture that's detailing exactly what the allegation is, though, again, it's totally different. Now we got to talk about Stallone. In this case, we've got an allegation that back some in the early 90s, Stallone and one of his bodyguards raped a girl who was also underage at the time. He's denying it. She's, I believe, holding to her story. And this was an actual police report that was dug up that was made at the time. And then, well, I didn't want to talk about it because, it's fucking Sylvester Stallone. What the fuck am I supposed to do? And, he's, of course, Stallone and his bodyguard, both, roid-addled and, massive. So they probably could break your neck, yeah. And the allegation was, he was like, well, if you tell anybody, I'll kill you, basically. Again, this is just an allegation without evidence, but it would be troubling if true. And Stallone, of course, at the time riding high on his fame, definitely would be a prime candidate for, hey, I can get away with doing this because nobody's really going to be taken seriously if without any physical evidence they claim that I raped them. It's a problem within the context of sexual crime. So often there's not going to be a witness or any specific physical evidence that can directly tie a person to the crime. So then it's like, well, if someone's been raped, of course, you want to side with them. Make sure that they're okay and they're protected. But at the same time, you also want to protect people from false claims the same because it can fucking ruin their lives. It's also a problem on college campuses. Because there, the threshold's different. It's not even handled in the actual legal system so much as the college just arbitrarily determines, yeah, we believe the claim, therefore we're expelling you, and there's no legal recourse, which I think, by the way, is fucked up. I don't think they should be able to do that. If you paid money to them for a service, which is, hey, I'm coming here to get an education, I don't believe they should be able to blacklist you based on a claim alone, nor should they be able, by the way, to conduct their own investigations. It's like letting the Catholic Church handle sex abuse cases. They shouldn't be able to do that. The Catholic Church should not be able to internally investigate actual crimes that have gone on within the church. Doesn't matter if it happened on some fucking church property. It should be handled by the actual authorities. They shouldn't be able to claim First Amendment protection. We have the right to investigate ourselves. What about a corporation? They're shielded at this point by the Supreme Court's past decisions. I guess they're a person. They have the right to internally investigate when someone gets axed in the back of the head in one of their storage facilities. Yeah, sure, that would go over real well with people. Hey, you want to kill somebody? Just own a business, drag them onto your property, and snap their neck. Oh, I'm going to investigate myself. Nope, no wrongdoing here. They fell down. It was an accident. Sorry about that. You can't see the forensic evidence, cops, because yeah, I'm a person, I'm a business. Doesn't make any sense. But Sylvester Stallone, of course, especially in that era, my goodness, it would be difficult to envision a person at the time who would have had more leverage as a Hollywood star. We're talking Rocky and, everything else under the sun. Yeah, he could have easily done such a thing and gotten away with it, but again, it's just an allegation. It's not like with Franken, where we have a photograph of the actual abuse occurring. Franken should step down. It's not a great... At the very least, can I submit something for all the Democrats out there? Some of them will say, well, but he's claiming it's just part of a skit, and so it doesn't actually depict him molesting somebody. Okay, let's assume that's fucking true. Do you want somebody who's perceived of now as creepy, being one of the top figures within your party? Al Franken would be in the top 5 Democrats right now, which should, by the way, concern you. Your top 5 Democrats, aside from Sanders, who's not technically a Democrat, so that doesn't count. He's not going to run for, presidency or anything. He's going to be in the Senate again, assuming that he, is still alive at the point. You've got Hillary Clinton. She's not in office, but ideologically speaking, she's the most visible Democrat. That should really fucking concern you. Used to be Bill would be number 2. And that was great until he became incoherent and kind of washed out. Now he doesn't really go out in public much anymore, unless it's for the past president conferences with W and, Herbert Walker, who looks like death. And then Jimmy Carter, who oddly looks the most healthy, even though he's the oldest, which is really weird. It's something about his diet. I don't know exactly, but the 70s must have been a good time for Jimmy. Maybe it's the fact that he turns his temperature down, wears a turtleneck. Maybe that keeps him healthy and young or something. I don't know. Maybe he drinks baby blood. Yeah. So you got Hillary. Used to have Bill. He's out. Biden would probably be number 2. That should concern you too. Hillary Clinton, look, they all seem to be embroiled within some sort of sexual scandal. You've got Al Franken. That speaks for itself. You've actually got a photo. Biden, even, I've noticed this in the last 48 hours, to try to cut the head off the snake of a potential Biden scandal, The Democrats are beginning to abandon Joe Biden right now. It's leading to speculation that somebody has some sort of evidence against him. Others have become aware of that fact, and they're slowly backing off to shield themselves from the fallout. Possible. He's one of your top-ranking Democrats. And of course, we've got plenty of photos and videos of him being at least creepy, if not, doing anything like an Al Franken style sort of deal. Bill Clinton used to be, he would be fairly obviously in that group. Hillary, who shielded her husband. 3 of your top 5 Democrats, most notable Democrats, have been or are embroiled within some sort of sexual scandal or are generally considered to be sexually creepy. That should worry you as a party. Do you really want that to be the image that you put forth in the midterms? Because I'm telling you, with Donald Trump running steamroll mode over you on Twitter, and the Republicans out way ahead of you, I believe, right now in fundraising, they are going to ram you into the fucking ground on that token. Oh, the Democrats claim they love women, the women's rights, glass ceiling, but look, here's Harvey Weinstein, big-time donor for the DNC. Joe Biden, here's a picture of him with a senator's daughter, and they'll, run loops of that stuff. Online, no, they would put that in a TV ad, of course. They'll certainly use Weinstein, though. They'll certainly use Al Franken, especially within Minnesota. They're going to trounce these people. They're going to pick them off one by one. Look, you're going to lose. Al Franken will lose when he goes up for re-election, just like Judge Roy Moore is likely to lose. The difference is, you think Roy Moore fallout was bad. For Roy Moore, it's just allegations. You don't have a picture of Roy Moore doing anything wrong. Al Franken, you do. What the fuck do you think is going to happen to his approval? It's going to tank. He'll probably lose 5-10 points easily, which means he won't get reelected. Good for you, you lose a Senate seat. If you rise up to try to defend Al Franken, you will be seen as defending the indefensible. That takes, by the way, the women's rights off the table. You already had a problem. You had a female presidential candidate, Hillary Clinton, who ran on a break the glass ceiling platform, do poorly with women. If that's the case, what do you think is going to happen to turnout among those groups in some of these races where the candidate's male? Especially an Al Franken-style candidate, or somebody who shook his hand. Oh, here's a picture of the Democrat here shaking hands with noted pervert Al Franken. What do you think that's going to do for the women's rights side of your ideological wedge issue-driven platforms? It's not going to work very well. The Democrats have to be very wary of that. In all honesty, though, the Republicans have to be wary too, because I'm sure, and I've said this before, it's not just going to be liberals, people who are DNC ties, Democratic politicians, Democratic donors. They're not going to be the only ones that get hit by this. There will be Republicans about whom claims circulate. There will be allegations, and some of them will probably be true. Of course they would be, statistically speaking. Unfortunately, I hate to say this, but if you get several hundred people together, like House of Representatives, Senate, stuff like that, like Congress, you get some hundreds of people together, statistically speaking, one of those people has probably killed somebody in the past and managed to get away with it. Some of those people, they're like rapists and child molesters. Plenty of them use drugs. I hate to tell you this, but Congress is full of criminals. In the most literal sense, statistically, it would be an anomaly if none of them had done those things. And it's not just going to be fucking Al Franken. You may never know about most of them. Some of them have done such things. That should give you pause before, by the way, you think government is high, mighty, and moral and should be solving your problems. No, I think you should solve your own if you're a good person. But, yeah, bad people want more government. Good people don't need more government, generally. That's a good ethos, I think, to live by. Al Franken should step down, or he should be expelled if he's unwilling. The people of Minnesota should not support him. You're going to be looked at as fools. Look, just get a different Democrat in there. Quietly retire Al Franken. Get some new upstart Democrat, some business Democrat, because of the way, the location you're in, you might prevail. If you try to defend Franken, though, I don't think he can do it. He's probably going to get kicked out anyway on the next election. As for Stallone, I hope the allegations... Look, I hope all of these allegations are always false, because if they're not false, it means that something terrible happened. you know, barring like Louis C.K., all he did was like apparently beat off and then call people up to his room. Just like he's a degenerate, but he didn't do anything illegal. It's just creepy. It's perverted. It's not quite the same as the allegations against a Cosby or a Weinstein or something. Again, the 4 levels of sort of sexual allegation hell. Somebody like that would be, you know, they're suffering the least. Somebody like, I guess, where would, well, Stallone's would be on the 4th level. If that's true, that'd be the lowest, because that involves the forcible rape of a minor. That's pretty low down there. For Al Franken, that would be the 2nd level, which is kind of survivable, but in a political capacity, I'm not sure, because I don't think Franken had sky-high approval anyway. Wasn't it just barely above 50%? I think he got 53 in his last re-election. That's, you know, it's middling. It's mediocre to get that threshold. So is it survivable if he loses 5-10 points? I don't know that it is. I think he'd have to resign. And I think he probably fucking should. People should call on him to leave. Especially the Democrats. They should be the ones doing that. Liberals should be the ones telling him to go. It's like, there's a picture, there's no other way to explain this, unless you can get Leeann Tweeden to say, oh, this is all just some sort of weird joke, and like pay her off or something. Unless you can accomplish that, bye, Al. You know, there's no way for us to defend you. We'll get a different Democrat in there, and we'll give you a golden parachute. They always do that to these people, by the way. That's about all. Peace out.